in this. I think we like to grab a drink and have fun in the Future Club events, but I think it's also nice to have other types of events where we bring a bit more substance. And this is one of them. Is there an echo that is?
Maybe. Or maybe I just turn mine off. What? Yeah. Maybe I can't. I think it's echoing from
Okay. Maybe you can mess around like this.
Or maybe.
So, of course, AI is a massive topic. I've written down a few questions that I want to ask you, but we never get to the bottom of this.
No,
tonight, right? I think what a lot of people have said, specifically with the rise of generative AI, is that there is a danger that human creativity might end up disappearing because we offload the creative thinking. We offload even the creation of images, videos. So I think I want to get your opinion on this. Do you believe that AI will kill ultimately human creativity, or do you think that it will be an enabler to human creativity, which is I think one of the areas, or do you think it will change what we define when we talk about human creativity?
Yeah. Wow. So firstly, thank you for being here, and it was really important that we have this kind of dialogue, and I really respect what you're doing, and I think that it's an exciting time as well as a scary time, and not to be a fearmonger about AI, but just to be wary and have a dialogue. Regarding whether it will kill creativity or be an enabler, so the way I think that we've lost that argument a little bit because the data's already been crunched, and we cannot go back and give credit to all of the things that's been taken. So the age of our harvest, so the entire history of art, all of the techniques, all of the poetry, all of the music is within engines already. It has been crunched and disseminated and resequenced. So that's why you can go, I have done it, I can go and listen to a song in the style of Nick Cave, made instantly. I can have a script written in the style of Quentin Tarantino for a full-length movie, and I can create an image of an orangutan walking on water in an instant. I've even taken because I've published this exhibition on a website, I went into ChatGPT and punched in a prompt and said, create me an image, and I gave it a very definitive prompt in the style of AI's A Vampire Exhibition by Kris, and in 67 seconds it pumped out an image. It wasn't the most accurate or in essence, but it was pretty close. So that it's a scary thing. I think art I think falls in the realm of creativity, but I think that art is slightly separate, because I think that creativity lies in every industry, including accountants. So what's going to happen is that from an art perspective, artists are very aware of what AI is doing and what AI has crunched already. So, we don't want to be producing a Van Gogh in an image because he was the only one. We don't need that, right? We need originality. So artists, I think, have embraced, there's a newer generation probably has embraced it more than an older. I think that there will come a time where it's like music and it's like social media. If there's an audience for it, that audience equates to cash. And the consumerism is what's going to drive whether it's accepted or not. And that's an unfortunate trait of ours as a species. So there will be some that will make it, and some that will sell it, and some that will buy it. And as long as there's the FUBU of AI, somebody's going to buy it. And somebody stands to make a lot of money of it. And that's the danger of where it is. I think then it will start to lose its soul of what we create, because art's a reflection of society. There is no reason for art. It has no value besides the value that us humans put on it. When AI will eventually analyze what art is, it will realize that, wait a minute, we're just using up a lot of energy to create some stupid images, sorry I say stupid, some silly images to entertain ourselves, because it has no value. It's the same as I was speaking to the florist next door, and I told her, do you realize that besides humans and bees, there is no reason for beautifying a place with flowers. No one appreciates it. And so you're using a lot of energy to supply flowers, but it's that kind of thinking. I think it's here, I think it can't go away. I think that we will have to find that niche where we utilize it. Maybe it will be good for facilitating the production, so, or the post-production. Example, you shoot a movie. When you make a movie costs a lot to make because the post-production does. But this will probably enable us to. So I think it will be an enabler if it's used cautiously. It won't be if it becomes consumerism and it's accepted.
Yeah. I fully agree with that, and I think that applies to art, but it applies to so many other areas, and business is one of them. There is always a question that I get very often is that, and especially people that have kids, and I know you're part of this, right? I mean, will AI make us dumber or smarter at the end of the day, right? Because we offload also so much of the thinking, just like we offload creative work. And my personal opinion, and I'm happy to have people disagree with me, is that I think AI will make dumb people dumber, probably. I think it might be a harsh reality, but I think that will be the case because they will not think or creatively or critically thinking how they use the tool. But I think it will make smart people smarter because they will understand how to use it, how to leverage it. And I think the same for creativity. It will make creative people probably more creative, and non-creative people probably less creative because they will offload the work. And indeed, so it's never a black or white answer, I think, on that specific topic.
But it's happened. It's happened before. So 30 years ago, when we received Photoshop, we thought that Photoshop was going to be the revolution. That Photoshop was going to kill a whole lot of industries. I worked in advertising. It was a revolution in advertising because the entire Macintosh platform of creativity that allowed us to produce at a different rate, be experimental, and we did fantastic work. At the end of the day, we did realize that whatever we did executionally, the idea was still the king. And great advertising is human truths told simply. That always shines. So it doesn't matter the technology. We knew that we needed to tell human stories because that's what resonated with us. That's what sold the products or makes DHL the best carrier. Yes, exactly. Boom. You got to shout out.
And okay, I'm going to go off script because
we can't keep the conversation in line to the script because it's just too broad.
You said
and
something
flexible.
You said something that I think is interesting. You said and you said earlier as well. You said the AI doesn't care about the beautiful flower sitting on your table or those paintings on the wall. But do they really not? Like with AI taking more autonomy in the future, do you believe there is a chance that artificial intelligence or non-organic intelligence will create its own form of art because of either entropy mimicry, because they want to mimic the way that we as human beings, because they're trained on human data, and in the human data they read, humans love paintings and humans love, so maybe I will build my own form of art. Do you think there is a possibility that non-organic intelligence will create a form of art that we either know or don't know?
That's a fantastic question. So I'm a sci-fi fan, and in the 70s, I think it was the 70s, an author by the name of Philip K. Dick wrote a book that's called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which became the genesis of Blade Runner. So, and the core principles of Blade Runner is the guy that's hunting the replicants, as we call them, because they are sentient beings that were created with an expiry date, but they had feelings, they developed feelings, and they developed feelings and emotion. And one of the great things was that it demonstrates, because it was a driving force of the entire narrative, was love. Because love is a strange thing, it's intangible, only you know it. So the Japanese say we have three selves. The self that you project to the world, the self that you project to your family and your children and the immediacy of your home, and the third self which you keep for yourself. And in your third self, you are the only one who knows that feeling of love. When you truly love something or somebody, there is I don't see how we will be able to replicate it unless the process of Blade Runner was transposing your consciousness into a machine that then decides by human eye form to seek that. But then it's a mimicry, as you said. So, interesting question.
If we come back to that, was I think a jump into 5 or 10 years future, but if we come back to today, there is, AI is entering our lives, re-entering, I would say, because it's a new concept, but it's here to stay. We're accelerating, all of us are business leaders in some form or another. We're automating more, we're optimizing more, and in all honesty, we're almost all of us doing more or less the same thing, right? So the biggest risk that I personally see is that we're creating a society that will become much more homogeneous in the future because we're relying too much on that technology. How can we make sure that we do not lose our human edge and what makes us uniquely human? And by the way, 1 minute to talk about our upcoming book, which is called Soul versus Scale. That's the entire topic of the book, right? I mean, you could see that coming a mile away, but because it's a question that Dado and myself, we ask ourselves a lot. Is, what will be your place in the future?
I don't think that we will have the I don't think that we can answer that question right now, but the most important thing that we can do is that what we're doing here is that we're sharing. And this is the genesis of our species, right? By sharing and communicating, and this is what has brought us here. The advancement of this language, our language, has been because of, according to Yuval Harari, is because of gossip. And then later on we decided to call it storytelling, but in essence, it's historic, it's gossip that evolved our language. And we communicate, and that's the thing. I think it's like they say the same thing about marriages. The best marriages are about communication. So if we are now tethered to AI, we got to communicate amongst ourselves before it overtakes us. So I don't think we'll solve it.
No, I don't think we'll solve it, but I'm sure the way that we will solve it is by being conscious of it. And I don't want us as human beings to lose the conscience about how much our lives gets attached to technology. The most human thing about us is our technology. I love this. But we tend to forget how fast we've come, right? I always take the example of you can watch it on YouTube, but they went in the streets in the 90s showing the first mobile phones. I'm not going to say smart mobile phones to people. They said, would you be willing to get a mobile phone? And most people were saying, no. Can you imagine if my boss can call me at any point of time, right? I mean, we hear this today, we think it's a bit of a joke because all of us have mobile phones. So we tend to forget how we first say, this is not going to happen, but it ends up happening. So I think being conscious about it is very important.
We were afraid of the automobile when it was invented, and we thought it's going to kill people. It's still killing millions of people. So
thousands, but
thousands. No, I think You don't think it's millions?
It might be millions, actually.
Yeah.
It is killing millions of people.
It's killing millions of people, or we killing each other, but yes, so we were afraid of that. So the most human thing about us is our technology. This is from the invention of fire, the wheel, yes, the industrial revolution and the printing press and all of those things, flights killing people, automobiles, you know, as we were talking about energy earlier, 300 years ago there was no petrol and coal, or maybe they had coal, but there was no petrol or jet fuel. So,
what opportunities do you see lie ahead when it comes to AI, and either in the creative or art space or beyond? But my personal feeling is that we're only scratching the surface. I'm pretty sure we don't have a full understanding of how the world will evolve in the coming few years. I'm not even going to say 20 years, I'm going to say probably 5 to 10 years.
Yes, it's 5.
So, what are the biggest opportunities to end also on positive notes that you think lie
yes,
ahead?
it's not all doom. It's not all doom and gloom. I think that, so, you know, my favorite thing is, or wish would be that if we could solve interstellar flight. I was just having a discussion with Eva, a brief discussion, and I said that there's a team of French scientists who have just created plasma energy that requires no fuel. But if it's created in mass, it could probably fuel a rocket ship. So that's an exciting thing. I think that as I said earlier, what we want AI to do is solve the tasks and solve health. So, you know, I think that we don't, perhaps not longevity in itself, but all the ailments that we haven't been able to, especially the cancers, and you know, there's a whole bunch of other diseases that we could solve because it'll happen at a faster, it managed to sequence it faster and do what we couldn't find the possibilities of. It'll take us years of research. So when it's doing those things, and it's back to the thing. So creativity, what is creativity? I think in a way creativity is a solution to something. You know, whether you wrote a song because of heartbreak, or whether you needed to create a spreadsheet for an annual report. It's about making us efficient. So maybe if it went down that road, made us efficient, maybe solve the things that have been a conundrum for us for a while. You know, when we think about, and not to underestimate who we are and how we think, because we've had hundreds of years of evolution, and our cognition is really sharp. You know, Sir Isaac Newton was 26 years old when he wrote the laws of gravity, sitting under a tree with a pen and paper, with a pencil and paper, not even a pen, a ballpoint pen. And then somebody asked him, hey, you know, why do planets move around in an elliptical fashion? So he came back 2 years later and he had created calculus. So we never should underestimate who we are. We've created this. This should not be our demise, right? And I think that there are lots of positives if we harness the way it is. And we need to be very careful. This is like a drive-by shooting by the AI companies. And this is moving, and the getaway car is moving really fast. So we need to, there's no guardrails to this. And we're still putting guardrails to social media, and we haven't succeeded to do that efficiently. So there are positives, we just need to put the guardrails.
I think that there is a quote by Nick Bostrom, by the way, who wrote an amazing book called Superintelligence that I advise you, all of you to read. And he says something in his book that sits with me all the time. He says, controlling superintelligence, whether we succeed or fail, will be the last challenge that we will ever face. And I think it's very true, and I think we're much closer to it than what we
just need to be aware of.
We just need to be aware of it. Anyone has a question for Kris? But thanks a lot for coming.
I'm not an expert on AI, so I'm just starting a dialogue. We can have a conversation.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it's much better if we have an organic conversation.
Yes, exactly.
But thanks everyone for coming.